Welcome to the Business Infrastructure Podcast AI Conference.
Over the next 12 episodes, you'll hear a combination of fireside chats, keynote speeches, and product demonstrations, all centered around AI. Hi there, I'm Alicia Butler-Pierre, host of the Business Infrastructure Podcast, the show where we share operational tips, strategies, and tactics to help improve the way your company operates. We have another great episode lined up for you featuring our AI Tech Conference. This particular episode is bound to be packed with some really useful information that you can use to dramatically improve or transform the way you might be doing something in your back office operations. Before we get started, do me a really quick favor, please. Press pause, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when other episodes come, and then press play and we'll get right into it. I hope you enjoy this episode. Joining me today is the lovely, the beautiful, the very talented Gladys Jimenez in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, and she is an Emmy-nominated TV editor, as well as the owner of Gladiola Films. Her company actually edits the videos for this very show, as well as the entire Equilibria YouTube channel. So it is such a pleasure to have Gladys come from behind the scenes in front of the camera and actually be a guest on the show. She's actually going to share with us some of the really cool AI video editing tools that she leverages to really speed up her video editing processes. So Gladys, welcome officially as a guest for the first time ever on the Business Infrastructure Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to see this angle. I usually get to edit everything and see everything in the privacy of my home and just listen to Alicia interviewing. I love it. I enjoy listening to every single podcast that I've listened to. So I've become a huge fan of you, and I'm so proud to work on this show. I feel like there's never ending information that I'm constantly writing down or ordering a book from a guest that you've interviewed. So or I'll talk about it in my day-to-day, like, oh, well, I know a podcast that could help your business. So yeah, it's an honor to be here with you. I'm so happy to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Gladys. And we love working with you. We've been working for a few years together now, as a matter of fact. And something that, I think those who are meeting you for the first time, listening to you or actually seeing you, if they're here on YouTube, your career started, well, actually, maybe not your career, but I noticed you have a degree in English literature. So how did you go from English literature to eventually pursuing a career in film editing or video editing, I should say, in particular? How did that happen?
Well, when I entered, it was now digital video, which was an interesting shift from film to digital video. But I graduated in 1996, and it was a time where video editing was becoming a little more popular. And I always loved stories. I always loved theater. I always loved acting and reading and being creative and music. And I did chorus, and I always wanted to be in the arts, but I needed something that would pay the bills. So, once I graduated from college with an English major, there were not a lot of options. It was like, okay, either write for a magazine or become a teacher, really limited. And magazines were not doing so well during the time that I had graduated, and video editing was actually really coming up, and commercials had been big in the 80s and 90s. So it was a natural evolution into, well, what can I do to make a living? And I started seeing, video editing as a profession. And I took a Final Cut editing course when I came out of college at UCLA. It was a UCLA extension, and sort of got my feet wet, like, what is this? And I realized it was the modern day storytelling. It's the way now people read books sometimes, even though I never want that to go out of style. But it really is a modern form of storytelling, and I saw a future in it.
And
So,
here we are, right?
yeah,
Because I mean,
21 years later.
yes, 21 years later. And in that 21 years, I'm sure you've seen this industry not only grow but evolve, as you
Oh,
mentioned,
yeah.
just from going from film to actual video editing. Now, you have the pleasure, the distinct pleasure, I should say the accolades of having worked with several well-known companies like MTV. I know you've done some work with MTV in the past. You've done some things with Buzzfeed that has a really popular YouTube channel. Also, you've done something with the Spanish version of Red Table Talk, right, with Gloria Estefan. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the exciting clients and projects that you've worked on over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to get, a big name in within the project. With BuzzFeed, it's always clients like in 2020, Joe Biden needed a Spanish commercial campaign, and they were looking for someone who spoke Spanish. And it was during the pandemic, so it was difficult even finding work. But they are a company that have always been remote, and so they easily were able to slip into that time and have editors work for them. And they found me online. And yeah, it was so exciting to be a part of that. And then, just last week, I was working on a commercial for Walmart for BuzzFeed. And, it's just always exciting to know that, yeah, that your client is someone that, people recognize. And Red Table Talk was such a unique experience because it was a show that I could actually really believe in topic wise. We talked about so many different political topics, social topics in the Latino community. And yeah, I'm a bilingual Spanish editor as well. And I get to work on a lot of projects that, are reaching out to the Latino population, which is one of the biggest audiences in the United States and around the world. So that gives me a lot of leverage to constantly be working and to be working on projects. I feel like since 2019, where people started to be a little more aware of like social and cultural consciousness, in hiring people and doing projects that had more diversity in it. So I've really been riding that wave, and really enjoy those topics of conversation.
Well, that's great to hear. And I'm thinking about your description of your work as visual storytelling.
Hmm.
And so to that extent, Gladys, can you explain to us how long it typically takes you? Let's say for an episode of a Red Table Talks, what would the finished product usually be like? Maybe a 30-minute segment or so, or?
Yeah, it would be a 30-minute segment. I think they usually calculate about 2 to 3 weeks per episode, depending on how many editors are on it. For Red Table Talk, we had 2 editors, sometimes a third to help out when they were available. And it really is a team effort. It takes a ton of producers. Of course, Jada has the final say. So it requires a lot of people's approvals. So, I basically put together the script that they give me. Producers will put together a script. I put it together. I take the best takes that I can find, and then I present it to them, and they watch it down, and they give me all the notes. I come back with a more refined cut. They give me back notes. And usually we end up with 3 or 4 versions until the final product. And that's why I say AI, it helps us, but in the end, I'm really answering to my clients, the producer, the director, business CEOs, anyone who's approving these videos. I mean, it's basically catering to them and their needs and what kind of emotions they want to evoke out of their piece and their videos. What is the message we're sending? So I feel like it takes a lot of human emotion and a lot of time and brains together to put together a project like this. But yeah, cost wise, we really try and, as fast as we can in 3 weeks, get out something that is perfect, basically.
So I must admit, it wasn't until I met you that I really developed an appreciation for the art of video editing because I just had no idea how many hours it takes for you to put something together to really tell a story that will have an impact, that will evoke the intended emotion, right? So I know just for example, with our projects here on the Business Infrastructure Podcast, we might have, let's say, a 30 to 40 minute, what we call quote unquote raw video, right? And it could take you several hours, right? Just to get that down to a, let's say, 15-minute video.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
the process is like you have to ingest it, you have to watch it, and then you have to assemble it and you output it. The client views it, you take those notes, you re-edit, you show it, you re-edit until it's done. So yeah, it's a long process, and just the longest part is ingesting and watching it. So in an AI world, it would be, I mean, we do have old school AI methods, which is our software, our editing software that ingests the footage quickly. You know, you can tell it, okay, I need it in by a certain amount of time. Back in the day, you used to have to watch it real time. In AI world, they speed that up for us. But watching it down, I would have a hard time letting go of the AI, like trusting the AI, only because, you know, what if they miss a key moment that was an emotional part, you know, that I was like, wow, that would have been so great. So it's about trusting the AI tool. You know, the more you use it, I'm sure the more you'll know the quirks and ins and outs. But that is the most time consuming, is really watching it and seeing what's good.
So as part of that ingestion process, or the ingestion phase, I guess, of the overall video editing process, Gladys, would you describe some of the AI tools that you're using for video editing as more of an assistant, or to potentially replace some of the people that could be a part of that overall video editing process?
Yeah, I think that certain positions, unfortunately, are replaceable. For instance, the voiceover on one of my shows, we were using a temp voiceover, and the person who was doing the temp voiceover was just too busy to be able to record it. And we, for me, it's important because I need someone that's going to give me a voiceover that's going to have some emotion, that's going to sell the video to the executives in the network. But to the person recording it, it's like, oh, it's temp VO, it's probably not important, they're probably not even going to use it, I'm only going to give it half my oomph, you know. And they'll take their time getting around to recording it and all that. It's called temp VO. Well, no, I need it right away, like I can't edit without it. And so, you know, my producer found a software called Murph AI that we used in order to bypass that delay. It costs about $220 per year, which, you know, for me, it's worth it. The company, it depends on the company, you know, if they can find someone they'd rather pay to do the AI. But in this case, I don't think they were paying for the temp VO. So that might have been, you know, one of the things. But for me, it was way easier to use this Murph AI than to wait for somebody to record it.
Well, I would love to see how Murph AI works, because I'm just trying to imagine, when I think of an AI simulated voice, I can't help but think of something that may sound robotic, but of course I know that that wouldn't be the case. So I can't wait for you to give us a quick demo on how Murph AI actually works. But before we get into some of the demos, because I know there's several tools that you want to share with us,
Oh, yeah.
can you just explain, maybe just in general, Gladys, how these different AI tools actually maybe cut down, or as you've pointed out earlier, speed up the video editing process? Because I remember one time you and I were talking and you were just explaining the pain that the physical pain that you were in from hours and hours of sitting and editing. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, it was just yet another reminder of what it takes to do what you do and to do it well.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to learn how to edit with emotion. For instance, if it's a comedy show, and luckily everything is online now. So many people have shared their stories on how to cut comedy or how to make a scene dramatic. Those are the kind of things that an editor needs to learn. And mostly we use music, sound effects, and takes, like a close-up take of someone reacting or laughing or spitting up their water. Those are the shots that we use in order to make it comedic versus dramatic. Tears, crying, sound effects, silence, all those techniques that take years and years to learn. And we have the technical side where we are the button pushers of this complicated software that most people have a hard time learning. I understand this. And that's why there is competition coming in where there are softwares that are AI generated for the common person that has never touched editing before. I encourage that. I mean, that saves a lot of time. Some softwares I found were like Gling, Descript, Canva, CapCut, all these softwares, TikTok. I mean, I encourage my nephew to pick up CapCut, because he likes editing. And I taught in Colorado avid editing, and I'll tell you, this new generation was just not having it. They were like, we like Final Cut 10, which is free and professional, and I was trying to teach avid, which is an old school software that many editors hold on to because I think it's job security, and there is something to be said for that level. I mean, in movies, you have a director to please and you have millions of dollars going in it. And so I don't see an AI, like replacing a film editor, a video editor for the small social videos, like Canva, where you can automate that. Yes, please do. Like, what, you don't need an expensive editor to be doing small video. You know what I mean? Like, if it can automate and it doesn't need emotion or drama, then go for it. Use these softwares, make them even blingier. I mean, some of the CapCut stuff, I'm like, whoa, how do you do? That would be hard for me to do. But I think Adobe is really good, a really good software that's competing with, I think, some of the AI video editing. And you still have to pay and learn how to use the AI video editing software. So it's not like it automatic, like I was playing around with it, and it does remove bad takes. It will suggest where to edit, but you still have to execute it. So I feel like, when it comes to movies and commercials and big projects, a documentary, you're always going to need an editor who feels the emotion, who's watching the takes and goes, wow, that really moved my heart. Wow, I could feel that they're in their homeland. And like that will never, it may be replaced in the future, but it would be super expensive, I feel like, to replace a human being.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these tools, Gladys, because
Okay.
like I said, I'm dying to hear how Murph AI, like to literally hear what Murph AI can do in particular.
Yeah, well, I was working away probably at midnight, waiting because I never received this voiceover. And so I started playing around with this Murph AI. And basically they allow you to sample for free, which is nice. So I typed in a sentence. Here is Natalie's voice in conversation.
During my stay at the Holiday Inn, I slept peacefully in the softest bed.
So once again, you can kind of hear it's a little bit of an AI voice. I'll just play it. You can also play with different styles of reading, like promo, newscast, sad, angry. Let's hear angry, see if it's.
During my stay at the Holiday Inn, I slept peacefully in the softest bed.
A little bit of an intonation, but if you can see here, you can play with the pitch, you can play with the speed, so you can, if like I wrote out this word that said AI, and it makes AI sound weird.
My name is Natalie, and I'm here to talk to you about AI.
See what you mean?
Hmm.
So it's like, it'll pass for temp VO. And maybe if I learn to, tweak the pitch and the speed a little bit, that then it'll sound a little better and I'll be able to present it to the client.
A little more human, I
A little
guess.
more human.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically with this, if you are working on a script and you have some areas where you need voiceover, you can literally copy and paste the copy of that voiceover into Murph AI and then select the voice and then the tone. And then, as you mentioned, adjusting pitch, speed, all of that other good stuff.
Yeah, you could put a whole transcript in there, and they have all different kinds of voices so you can see, and they also have different languages. So I used the Spanish version. So they have Spanish from Mexico, Spanish from Spain. They have Spanish from different countries like Argentina.
It only takes one voice at the right pitch to start an avalanche.
You can try
now that one actually sounded very human. I mean, yeah. it sounded, yes, that was really good. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Certain words sound better than others. Once again, it'll take a little tweaking to make it sound better, but it's definitely better than nothing.
Yes, and we all know, as with any technology, it's only going to get better, right, over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this impressed me. And Adobe Audition, which is their editing audio software, they have a free one, which I use as well if it's temp VO.
Okay.
So that is one software. And then this one, which I was pretty impressed about, this Adobe Podcast. Basically, you can put in your audio that's got background noise, and it can make it better. So this is their sample on their website of before and after cleaning up the audio.
Gone, as if I recorded this in a professional studio.
Enhanced.
I'm in a conference room with the window open, and it's pretty echoey in here too. Not the best place to record audio. Yet with enhanced speech, all of the background noise and echo is gone, as if I recorded this in a professional studio.
Now, what's impressive... I apologize, but yes, no. I would love to hear another one. But what's so impressive about this for me is, no matter how many times, even when I'm recording interviews for this podcast, you may ask people, make sure if you have any dogs around or babies and they start crying, just make sure you're in a room and you have your headset on. And sometimes people forget to bring their headsets, or they don't, whatever the case may be, there still may be some background noise. So this is excellent.
Yeah, no, I mean, right before we came on, there was a gardener, and I'm like, I could just clean it up with this tool. I mean, and this is the thing, that it's usually in expensive softwares, editing softwares. Like I can clean that up for you in my video editing software, but the fact that you can do it on a podcast, and I feel like podcast is really, up to the playing field too, because there's a lot of people that now have audio recording, and usually people don't value audio as much as video, but I tell you, it seeps into the brain subconsciously, where if audio is bad or it's distracting and you don't know why, you're irritated, but it's yeah.
Now, there were some other tools that you mentioned, and I know you went through them kind of quickly. Can you mention those again? There was something I believe you mentioned that has to do with TikTok, like CapCut. Am I I'm not a TikTok user, so forgive me if that's something that everyone who's a TikTok user just automatically knows, but I have no idea what that is. What's the name of it?
It's called CapCut, and it can be on Windows. It could be on Apple. It's very versatile. It's basically an easy to use editing software, and it formats for TikTok. So if you are scrolling through TikTok, you'll see made by CapCut, or they'll have filters that you can use through CapCut. So it's become really popular. I mean, I love TikTok because I feel like I'm back in my film school days, where people are making their content and it's for free. What used to cost millions of dollars for a commercial on TV is now anyone can make a commercial. I feel like that's so powerful, you know, to
Wow.
be your own, I don't know, be your own artist.
Now, I have a question for you, Gladys. I recently, as you know, I'm just getting back from a vacation. I took a lot of home video on my just regular camera. So I'm not a professional by any means. If I understood something that you said earlier, if I understood that correctly, it's possible for me to take, let's say, a 4-minute video that I may have recorded myself. And if I wanted it to be edited, I could upload it to a particular AI software and it would make suggestions about where to cut. But is it also based on the emotion that I want to evoke, or how does that work? And what's the name of a tool like
Um,
that?
well, a couple of them. One is called Gling, and I was just playing around with Gling, Gling, and Descript.
Oh,
They both
yes.
they both are AI video editing softwares. And they can't edit for the emotion. So you select the music, you know, you upload the music. It will eliminate takes that were bad, or that when you know you're speaking and you repeat yourself, you repeat your sentence, it'll gray out the part that it thinks should be cut, you know. So
Mm.
I feel like that's really helpful. I mean, I would use one of those to do, yeah, one of my home movies, you know, Gling, Descript, even CapCut, but definitely Gling and Descript, yeah, are worth trying. I mean, I would YouTube, if I didn't know anything, I would YouTube one of these and give it a go.
And
That-
so in your day-to-day, your day-to-day, you know, typical project,
Hmm.
which of these AI tools are you using, would you say, the most?
Well, definitely the music pulls. There's one where actually most music libraries now where you sign up for a subscription for the year and they allow you to use the music that's licensed. They have composers that
Mm.
you know compose for these music libraries. Now they have where you can import a song and it will find you a ton of samples that are similar. So if I put, you
Oh,
know, merengue, it'll find a bunch of merengue. Or,
okay.
you know, I need sad music. And the more specific you are, the better, I feel like, with AI. But how much more, you know, specific can you be than an actual sample? So in that case, that's really helpful when it can find music, because that used to be, you know, what assistant editors did is, and they're already overrun with so many other things that they need to do, that I mean, these kinds of tools where the library can find a ton of music, that's very helpful to an editor, because that could take hours to find the right song.
Mm.
Shazam, which I always use, that's now a software that was invented in 2002 and sold by Apple, and now you get it on your phone. So I use it every time I hear a funny song on, you know, Instagram or TikTok, and I want to use that song, it finds it right away. Those same AI editing softwares that we mentioned, they can also produce transcripts for producers to use. And Adobe Fonts is another one. Adobe, I love. I love that whole Adobe suite. They're always trying to make things better. They have the same kind of thing with the music, where you find a font, let's say Walmart. I had to do that the other day, where I had to match Walmart because they wanted more words than the logo that they gave me. So I had to match the words to Walmart. And I put that in, and they were able to find the same font or a similar font, and it matched
Oh,
perfectly.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There've
Yeah.
been
It doesn't
instances where
always.
I've had to do that. I didn't realize that was there. Okay. We'll make sure we
Yeah.
put a link to that. We'll have links to all of the tools you've mentioned. But
Okay.
so to circle back really quickly, the one that you mentioned about the music, where you can type in, for example, I want something that's sad, or you can maybe even upload a snippet of a song and it will find something similar that exists in the library that's, you know, doesn't have any licensing copyright issues. What's the name of that tool, Gladys?
Well, they are paid for, but it's Warner Chappelle and Universal Music are two libraries that I've
Okay.
used in the professional setting where they have to pay, because
Got it.
but reality TV, all TV is music, you know.
Yeah. Music really helps it come to life.
Music is
Yeah.
everything. It's how we feel the emotion.
As we start to wrap up here, this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing all of these different tools with us. Gling, Descript, CapCut, Murph, AI, Warner Chappelle, Universal Library, Shazam, Adobe Fonts. We'll make sure we have links to all of these tools that you've shared in the show notes. But before we wrap up, I was wondering, you did mention something really key at the very beginning, and that is having that human touch.
Mm.
So again, based on the way you have described the way you use these tools, it really is serving as a digital assistant, if nothing
Mhm.
else, where you were talking about what the assistant editor may have normally done in finding the right song. You can now use AI as that digital assistant, while that assistant editor can go on and work on some of the other many things that they have to work on, right? So to that extent, it all requires learning the tools, right? The tools of the trade. Do you have any parting words of advice for those who may be amateurs and kind of want to dip their toes into the video editing world and just don't have an idea of where to start? Do you recommend some of these tools? And if so, I'm sure there's a learning curve with all of them. Can you just speak to that a little bit before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to edit your own videos at home, I would definitely try one of these AI video softwares with CapCut, Gling, Descript, because they're made for someone who's never had to edit before. If I was pursuing an editing career, I would definitely learn one of the three softwares, which is Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, or Avid. And those are the more advanced softwares that are complicated to learn, but it's like driving a car. Once you know where all the buttons are and how to maneuver, you're able to be just fine. And the more you do it, the faster you do it. And I love doing home projects. I had a brilliant editor once say, do your home movies. That's literally how you learn to cut. And, hearing people's feedback is really important too, in knowing how to take criticism and critique. I once was a novice, and a fellow coworker told me I cut all the emotion out of the scene, and I was like, oh, that hurts. But it's about getting feedback. I say constantly be reading about how to edit, because there is so many articles now online. I mean, when I was learning, there was barely any resources. There were books, and I have, a whole bunch of books, because I know sometimes you ask what influences you. So I have Avid Editing, which I taught in Colorado. That's a basic book, and it's taught in a way where you have lesson plans. And yeah, the author is Sam Kaufman. And basically you can do, one exercise to another. And if you read this, you could literally start to be a professional video editor. Another one that's great is In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch. That's an oldie but a goodie. And basically he's a movie editor for Francis Ford Coppola, and he talks about how to edit. For instance, many people don't notice, but like when you're blinking, when you blink, it's almost like you're saying yes, or you understand. It's a subconscious thing. And so he talks about, before the blink, after the blink, during the blink, those kind of techniques that, an AI machine is not going to necessarily know how to make those calls. Like, editing for reality TV, Jeff Dawson, this is another guy who's an editor. And I've actually contacted him because he changed my life, because who teaches you how to edit for reality TV, And
Wow.
this was a really good resource, because he basically talks about, how to create stories from scenes, what to expect. when you're sitting in the editing chair, because it really is such a secretive job. Like, it's hard to explain what it is. No one really lets you into the room to see what they are really doing, because it's almost like a skill where it's like, I've learned my dues and I've paid my dues and now I have deadlines. So it's really hard to be mentored. So when you find someone that can mentor you, that's huge too. That's huge. And they
Wow.
say you don't pick your mentor picks you, which I feel like that happens. It's like, you can't predict it. You just find someone that's willing to take you under their wing, that believes in you. You work really hard and someone will give you the opportunity, you know.
Well, I really appreciate you giving those parting words of advice and encouragement. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing those books. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great career and I don't see it ending anytime soon. I mean, we have so many things, you know, like the strikes and all that, and still we thrive because people need entertainment. People need information, the news, documentaries, so many ways of communicating, expressing, you know, it's changed the world. So I feel like it's, and hopefully the AI just keeps making it that much better because we're used to change. You know, people in film, it moves from no sound to sound. And now we've got black and white to picture. And now we have picture to HD. And now we have 4K, 8K, 10K, 3D, you know? So it's just going to keep going and going, you know? So we have to roll with the times.
That's a great point. So you definitely have to be flexible and adaptable in that line of work.
You have to
Gladys.
be a dog who learns new tricks.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been so helpful, very eye-opening. Talk about in the blink of an eye. It has been eye-opening. So thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all of those tools with me. I already have so much respect for you, but now I have even more respect. Just having a greater appreciation for the fact that you constantly keep yourself educated about new and emerging trends, and you're kind of staying on the forefront of new developments in video editing. So kudos to you and thank you again. Before we actually close, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Okay, so it's funny because I've wanted to make a website for such a long time, but really I get my work through word of mouth. And you know, mainly I have my LinkedIn updated so, you know, people can see what I'm currently working on. Pretty much LinkedIn is my main go-to. I check it all the time. And, you know, eventually I'll get a website up there and put it on there. But yeah, for now, LinkedIn.
Yes, and be sure to check out the Equilibria YouTube channel so you can see Gladys's handiwork.
Oh, yes.
Up close and personal as well.
I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and we have even more great videos coming up for you. They'll include actual demonstrations of different AI tools that you can start using to improve the way your business operates. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of this information that's coming up. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.